As you can see, this is Dr. J Life of Adonai, Emmanuel Community Mission. And what Adonai Emmanuel Community Mission specializes in is a hospital system called Freedom House. Freedom House hospital systems. The very first ambulance service in the country. Freedom House. Our beloved Dean Green from the Hill neighborhood in Pittsburgh. At the height of the civil rights movement, where all y'all talking about John Lewis. John Lewis ain't never create nothing that benefited none of all he did was walk across the bridge and let somebody crack his skull. On that same exact bridge, my uncle, Elder Richard Bland, was there. And they ain't cracked Richard Bland's skull. We don't let individuals crack our skulls. We're not in the business of teaching our children to protest and let somebody crack their skull and lock them up. We don't give no badge of honor for letting nobody crack your skull and throw you in jail and trample on you and throw hoses on you. That's called a slave. In response to that type of treatment up in Pittsburgh, our beloved Dean Green left Freedom House hospital system and came to Pine Forge Academy and became the dean of students. But before she did, in Washington, D.C., the Seventh-day Adventist hospital on the campus of CUC, Columbia Union College then. There was a fair-skinned woman by the name of Lucy Bird. And she was so fair-skinned like all of my aunts. My Aunt Henrietta, my Aunt Mary, Ebony and Karima Trotter and Heather Trotter. Heather has the same complexion of Lucy Byard. And they admitted her to the hospital, this Adventist hospital on the campus of CUC, the Seventh-day Adventist hospital system that created Johns Hopkins University. The same Johns Hopkins University that Dr. Ben Carson, he goes to Johns Hopkins University instead of going to the Adventist hospital at CUC and giving the world what we're giving them, 8 laws of health. He goes over to Johns Hopkins University. And they're letting Europeans, fair-skinned Europeans, go to the hospital at CUC and get the 8 laws of health and get healing. But Johns Hopkins is giving poison. And all of the people of color got to go to Johns Hopkins and got to go to the health clinics and the poor black people's hospitals and get poison that Dr. Ben Carson and the other black Adventist doctors are giving. While white people get to go to CUC's hospital and get the 8 laws of health and let food be your diet. And when they found out that Lucy wasn't white. When they found out, because she never even identified as a white person. They just looked at her skin and she was so light that they assumed she was white. But when they asked her and they looked at her husband, her black husband, she's like, she just gave her regular information. They found out she was a black person that they assumed was white, and they said, no, you got to go to the hospital where we give poison at. And they wouldn't treat her with the 8 laws of health in the CUC hospital, and they put her in a paddy wagon because there was no ambulance service back then. They put her in a paddy wagon and she died on the way to the hospital. So in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, at the height of, they just killed Malcolm X, they just killed Dr. Martin Luther King. All over the country, all of the inner cities are burning. They burned LA, we burned Trenton, New Jersey, burned it down. Trenton High School burnt down, 67. Newark, New Jersey, burn it down. LA, burn it down. So all over the country, they burning it down. And so they go and get the black people off the Chitlin circuit. They go get James Brown and Sammy Davis Jr. and they go and they have benefit concerts. They want you to get a song and dance and do a jig, jumping Jim Crow. They want Sambo to do a jig. But our beloved Dean Green and about 60 other individuals, you got to understand, individuals have been going to World War II, World War I, World War II. Now in the 60s, they trying to send our brothers to Vietnam, but you had already had grandfathers who had fought in World War I, and they are trained as medics. You had already had great-grandfathers who was in World War I and grandfathers who was in World War II. My grandfather, Frankie Leggett, World War II, Marine. So now you got these great-grandfathers from World War I medics and great-grandfathers and grandfathers from World War II medics who now, they like, we don't need you to protect us. We know how to shoot guns. We know how to make guns. We don't need you to protect us. We don't need you to do nothing. We don't need your hospitals or nothing. And then they created my grandfathers, my great-grandfathers. They created the very first ambulance service called the Freedom House in Pittsburgh, in the Hill District, when police wouldn't even come into the neighborhood. People was calling, but because of the riots, the police wasn't even coming into the neighborhood no more. The paddy wagon wouldn't show up. So people was dying in our neighborhoods, and these individuals, just like Joshua as a spy, our ancestors didn't go into the service to serve nothing. Revelation 12, Michael and his angels fought against Satan and his angels and cast him out. My grandfather told me when I was 7 years old, looking at his picture when he was a Marine, he said, the only army we fight with is Michael and his angels. So when I tell you I am Dr. J, Dr. Michael Jordan, Michael at the Jordan River is where he cleansed the women. When the women stepped into the Jordan River, when Zipporah, Moses' wife, and Zipporah's sisters, the daughters of Jethro, the high priest of Midian, when they stepped into the waters of the Jordan River, it parted. And they got to go into the promised land. When Zipporah, the Ethiopian Cush Ham, queen of the south, queen of the north, the first and the last Eve, when her feet stepped in the water, remember Moses had to take off his shoes because the place where he stood was holy ground. But when Zipporah stepped in the water parted. That's who Dean Green is. That's who my grandmother Evelyn Webb is. That's who my grandmother Aura Lillian Leggett is. That's who my wife Kanisha is. That's who my daughter Deja, the queen of the South. That's who my daughter Destiny, the queen of the no, Deja is the queen of the North. Destiny is the queen of the South. Let's get in the beginning. ITB. Let's get in the beginning. Crossroads. When you're at a crossroads where your enemy is behind you, like the Egyptian pharaohs, God will put a pillar of fire in between his children and Satan's children. Let's get in the beginning. Crossroads. You at a crossroad where the enemies is breathing down your back. God said, I have not given you a spirit of fear. God said, I have not given you a spirit of fear. So if you got a spirit of fear, you can't believe that you God's child. If you are restless in any way, if you fear anything, God said, you better fear the one that can kill the body and the soul. You running and you scared and you running into the jobs and you punching a clock because you scared of the financial picture in your life. God said, enter into my rest. Stand still. Stand still. Stand still when the Pharaoh's army is bearing down. Stand still. When you don't see no way out of no way, God says stand still. And if you can't stand still and enter into his rest, when it looks like there's no way of escape, then you ain't his child. Without faith, it is impossible to please him. If you restless and you running and you scared of everything, you scared of the financial outlook, you scared of what's going to happen tomorrow, God says stand still and prove you mine. We're going to make you prove it. We're going to make you prove it. We're going to call a bluff. We're going to call a bluff. We're going to call a bluff. They fake no man can buy or sell. $23 trillion annually we're going to do every year for 7 years. While the rest of the world is in a financial crisis, 23 trillion. But first you got to get your sanctuary cleansed. First you got to get your sanctuary cleansed. It's called the Seal of God. This is the Seal of God summer camp. Let's get in the beginning. Seal of God fit. You don't have the Seal of God? Your pastor don't know how to give you the Seal of God. Your husband don't know how to give you the Seal of God. Your daddy don't know how to give you the Seal of God. Your church don't know how, your priest, your imam don't know how to give you the Seal of God. Revelation 7 say all God's children got to get sealed. You ain't got the Seal of God. All mine got the Seal of God. All of mine got the Seal of God. And if you want to get it, we got a summer camp where you could come and get the Seal of God. But you got to be the best of the best in the neighborhood. We don't deal with those who call themselves common. If you still claiming common sense, then don't come over here. This ain't for you. We looking for those who perfect like our babies is perfect. All of y'all cursing y'all babies. All of y'all cursing y'all babies. Listen, we raise perfect babies. Perfect kings and queens. Perfect. Let's get in the beginning. Perfect fit.